Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'll be showing you guys how I made this simple off-shoulder elastic top. So this is what the back of the top looks like, and I achieved the style using 1.5 yards of Ankara fabric. So you can wear it either as an off-shoulder top or you can raise it up to your shoulder point, just as you can see me doing in the video. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. So this is the fabric we'll be working with. I have about 1 yard of fabric for the bodice. I'll be using another fabric for the sleeve. So I have my ruler, my chalk, my scissors and my tape rule. So for this particular off shoulder top, we'll be making use of elastic thread. I just want to show you guys what it looks like. So this is the elastic thread we'll be working with. So you can see how it stretches as I'm pulling it. So the next thing to do now is to fold our fabric. So I've gone ahead to fold my fabrics into two. So I'll be cutting the front and the back panels together. So I have both front and back panel folded into two, as you can see. So I folded this fabric using my bust measurements, my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 10.5 inches. I added 1.5 inch for seam allowance and I added extra 3 inches to it. This is for the elastic effects to come out, so that when you stretch your fabric, it's going to go back to your normal body size. So I have about 15 inches on fold for the front panel and 15 inches on fold for the back panel. So note that you can make use of 2 extra inches depending on how fitted you want your shoulder to be. And then for the length of my top, I just placed my tape rule 5 inches above the starting point. This is because it's an off shoulder top. So the length of my top is 24 inches. I added 1 extra inch for the folding at the base and the folding at the top. So I have 25 inches here for length. So let's go ahead now and mark our measure. So the first thing to do is to draw out a starting line at the top of the fabric. So the extra fabric at the top is what I'm going to use to fold in the top of the fabric. So I'm going to place my tape rule 5 inches above the starting line, and then I'll place my bust measurement, which is 10 inches, and my under bust, which is 13.5 inches, and then the full length of the top. Then I'll go ahead to draw out these lines horizontally. I'll extend the lines. So after drawing out the lines, this is what we have. So I'm only marking out these lines because of the design I have in front. So if you're going to be sharing the whole fabric, you don't need to mark your bust or your under bust. You just need only your starting line and your finishing line. So next thing to do is to mark our armhole point. So I'm going to come in from the opened angle by 4 inches. So you can make use of 3 inches if you're on the small size. And then again, I'll place my tape rule 5 inches above the starting line and mark my round armhole measurements divided by 2, which is 9 inches for me. Then I'll connect the 2 points together this way, and I'll further extend it the other way. So right now, go ahead and just form out my armhole curve as you can see me doing. Just form it out this way. So the next thing to do now is to cut this out. So this is basically all for the bodies of our off-shoulder top. So after opening up the fabric, this is what we have. So I'll just set the back panel aside while we work on the front panel. So this is our starting line, the bust line and the under bust line. So from my starting line, I'm going to come down by 0.5 inches. So I'm going to come down by 0.5 inches 5 times. I'll keep coming down just the way you see me doing in the video. So when I'm done doing that, I'll take my ruler and just extend the lines horizontally. So when I measure it, I came down about 3 inches from the starting line. So these are going to serve as guidelines when I'm sewing on my fabric. So just go ahead to extend it this way. So after marking out, this is what we have. So I won't be sharing on this bust area. I want to just leave it open. So I'll come over to the under bust line, and then I will come down by 0.5 inches just like I did for the upper part. By the time I'm done sharing the upper and the lower part, it's going to give the bust area some kind of gathered effect at the bust point. So I'm going to come down by 0.5 inches from the under bust line, just as you can see me doing. And I'm going to make sure I leave about 3 inches to the full length of my top. So I'll take my long ruler now and just extend these lines horizontally, just like I did for the upper part of the top. And when I'm done doing that, I'll show you. So just carefully extend the lines this way, just as you can see me doing in the video. So these lines are going to serve as a guideline when you are sewing on your fabric. So the points I have marked out are the points we are going to be sharing on. Those are the points we are going to be sewing our elastic on. So this part that is unmarked is going to be left that way, and the lower part is also going to be left that way. So before I start sharing, I'm going to fold in the top of my fabric. So if you have an interlocking machine, you can use it for that. But for me, I'll be folding it in at the top this way. And then when I'm done with folding the top, I'll go ahead and fold in the base as well. So when I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys next thing. So to share the fabric, take your bobbin, the part where you normally roll your thread in at the lower part of the machine, and then get your elastic thread. So we'll be rolling the elastic thread on the bobbin while the normal thread is going to pass through our needle. So go ahead now to roll your elastic thread lightly on the bobbin. So do not pull the thread while you are rolling it on it. Just roll it lightly on it. And then you fix it in just like you do with your normal thread and then bring it out. So you can adjust the screw to either tighten or loosen it depending on how your stitch is coming out. So I'll carry you guys along as I'm sewing on my fabric. So I fixed my bobbin on the lower part of my machine, and I've also passed my normal thread through my needle. So right now I'm going to place my fabric under my needle this way. So I have the both the elastic and the normal thread out. So I'm just going to start sewing on the line. So just keep running your normal straight stitch on the line, just as you can see me doing. So as I'm sewing, you can see the fabric is already having the shearing effect. So I'll just stitch it this way all the way down. So I'm stitching very slow because I want you guys to see what I'm doing. So I've gone ahead to sew on all the lines just as you can see me doing. So I'll show you guys what the upper part looks like before we move to the lower part. So after sewing my elastic on about 3 of the lines, this is what it looks like. You can see the elastic effect coming out on the neckline already. So when I'm done doing that, I would go over to the lower part and then I would sew it just the same way I explained. So when I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So guys, after sharing the upper part and the underbust to the waistline, this is what I have. You can see how it came out. This is the lower part. And this is what the wrong side looks like. You can see how neat it is. So we're done with the front panel. The next thing now is to move to the back panel. So before I work on the back panel, I'll be using it to cut out my sleeve. I'm using the back panel to cut out my sleeve before I start sharing on it. So this is the fabric I'll be using for my sleeve. It's in a fold of 2. So I folded it using my round armhole measurements divided by 2, which is 9 inches plus 1 inch for joining, making 10 inches. So when I open it up this way, I have about 20 inches here. So you can decide to make yours less depending on just how you want the top to be. So for the length of the top, for length of the sleeve, I'll place my tape rule 5 inches above the starting line to get the exact length of top. So I want 23 inches for the length, so I have 24 inches here. The remaining extra 1 inch is for folding at the base and folding at the top. The next thing now is to use the back panel to cut out our sleeve. So to cut out your sleeves, go ahead and fold your fabrics into 2 this way. So I'll be cutting the 2 sleeves together. And then I'll place my back panel on it also in a fold. So I'll make sure I match all the closed angles on the same side, just as you can see. And then I'll just go ahead to cut out my armhole from the back panel. I'll just go ahead to cut it out. So that's basically all for the sleeves. So I'll set the sleeves aside while I work on my back panel. So I'll be coming back to this later. So I'll set it aside. And then before I start shirring on my back panel, I'll go ahead to fold in the upper part and also fold in the base just like I did for the front panel. And then I'll show you guys how to share on it. So before I go back to my machine, let me just go ahead and mark out the lines I will be sewing on. So I'm going to remove the folding allowance at the top. So that part is going to be the part I'll be folding in. So from the starting line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So I'm going to be using 1 inch interval for the back panel. I'll just keep coming down by 1 inch, just like I did for the front panel. And then when I get to the lower part, I'll take the same 3 inches I used for the front part. So right now, take my long ruler and just extend these lines horizontally. So for the back panel, we're going to be sharing the whole fabric. We're only leaving the lower part like the front panel. So after drawing all the lines, I'll take it to my sewing machine now and just sew it all the way down, just the way I explained for the front panel. So remember to fold in the upper part and the lower part before doing that. When I'm done doing it, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after sharing the back panel, this is what it looks like. You can see the elastic effect on it as well. So the next thing we want to do is to join the front and the back panels together. So I'll go ahead and place them right sides facing each other. I'll place them right sides facing each other. So remember while we were drafting on our fabric, we took about 1.5 inches for seam allowance. So I'll be making use of 2 inches for the seam allowance. This is because I just want the top to be well fitted on my body. So I'll be taking 2 inches on both sides for my seam allowance. So I'll just use my pin to secure the armhole points together. And then now I'll take it to my sewing machine and I would stitch it all the way down. I'll join the two fabrics together using 2 inches seam allowance. I'll join it all the way down, and when I'm done doing that, I'll do it for the other side. I'll stitch it all the way down with my 2 inches seam allowance. So when I'm done stitching and joining the two front and the back panels together, I'll show you guys what it looks like and the next thing to do. So after joining the front and the back panels together, this is what we have. You can see the gathered effect on the bust points. This is the back part and this is the front part. So the next thing we want to do now is to come work on our sleeves. So I'll set these pieces aside while we work on the sleeves. So for the sleeve, I've also gone ahead to fold in the upper part and stitched it down. And I did the same thing for the base of the sleeve. So we'll be sharing the upper part of the sleeve and the lower part. So before we do that, I'll go ahead and count how many lines I have on the upper part. So I have about 5 lines. So I'll be doing the same thing for the upper part of the sleeve. I'll share 5 lines on the upper part. So just like I did for the bodies of the top, I'm going to come down by 0.5 inches. I'm going to come down 5 times, just like I did for the front panel. And then for the lower part, I'm going to come up by 3 inches from the hem, just to give it a little bit of flare at the base of the sleeve. So I'll come up by 3 inches and mark it there. And then from that 3 inches point, I'll just take half an inch up, just as you can see me doing in the video. So I marked it 4 times. And then I'll use my long ruler now to extend these lines horizontally, just the way I did for the front and the back panels. So guys, after drawing out the lines, this is what we have. So right now, I'll take it to my sewing machine and just stitch on the lines, just like I did for the previous parts. So when I'm done doing that, I would join the sleeves together. I'll go ahead and close it up this way. After sharing, I'll go ahead and close it up this way and stitch it all the way down using 1 inch seam allowance. I'll stitch it down. So when I'm done doing that, I'll do it for the second sleeve. I'll repeat the same thing for the second sleeve, and then I'll show you guys how to attach your sleeve to your top. So after working on the sleeves, this is what we have. So you can see the shirring effect at the top and on the lower part. So I went ahead to also close the sides just like I explained earlier. So for the lower part, I make sure that what I have there is equivalent to what my round sleeve measurement is. So you can decide to measure yours so that it won't be too free on that point, and then just adjust the allowance to fit your wrist properly. So the next thing now is to attach our sleeves to our top. So this is my top here. So I'm going to go ahead and match the point. So the point where I joined the sleeves together, I'll match it to the point where I joined my top together this way. I'll match it together this way, and then I'll just use my pin to hold it down. So after holding that point down, I'm going to use my pins to also join the sides together. Just watch what I'm doing. So I'm going to just use my pins to hold it down. This is just to make the sewing easy. So after using my pins to join the sleeves to the top, this is what it looks like. So by the time I'm done sewing it, I'm going to have something that looks like this. So using 1 inch seam allowance, I'm going to join the sleeve to my top. So when I'm done doing that, I'll do the same thing for the second sleeve, and then I'll show you guys the finished product of the top. So guys, after attaching the sleeves to the top, this is what it looks like. So you can see how beautiful the off shoulder top came out. This is what the back looks like. So guys, this is where we'll be ending the video for today. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share with your loved ones, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.